Hello. I am Vincent White. I am an employment attorney, and we are answering publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. Like and subscribe if you find these videos helpful, because that would in turn help me to help more people just like you. We have a question here from YouTube user. I lost it. The one and only Prince, who asked us, is there a reason why attorneys like to drag out cases? And complex question. Because the answer is logically no, right? At least at the firm level, like an employment attorney wants your case to move forward aggressively for a number of reasons. And I'll talk about those, and then I'll talk about how this all falls apart and why sometimes certain attorneys don't move cases. So, generally speaking, in most payment arrangements, employment attorneys don't really get paid until they produce a result for you, at least not significantly. And in addition to that, many firms are going to be fronting or covering expenses so they can have tens of thousands of dollars wrapped up in a case, invested in a case, right? And that's money that you take 20 grand and you sink it into a case, or 40 grand and you sink it into a case. Well, you don't have 40 grand until and unless you achieve some kind of monetary result from that case, right? So if you win it or you settle the case, you're going to get your money back, hopefully, at least, and you have your 40 grand back, and maybe you make some profit, right, from the attorney's perspective. This is a very much inside baseball like perspective that I don't think the average plaintiff, the average client maybe understands. So there's a couple reasons why the attorneys want cases to move fast, right? They're invested heavily in the case. They want their money back. They also want their profit, and people like profit sooner rather than later. Also, the case is often worth more if you work it in an aggressive fashion, right? If you are just, this wild, aggressive, full tilt charge, it's often going to create a lot of angst on the defendant's side. A lot of their non-attorneys, their witnesses, the principals, the defendants, they're all going to get freaked out. They're not going to like it. Things are moving too fast, constantly upsetting them. It can create a lot of grief for them. It can push settlement. It can push a positive result. It can push better results for your clients, right? Also, the last reason why a firm specifically or a managing partner wants cases to move is that if attorneys are letting cases linger, they end up stacking up. And you can get a couple things going on there. First and foremost, let's say you got an associate attorney. You assign them 20 cases, and they do everything they can to sit on those cases and not move them. And maybe only 3 or 5 of those cases get settled or resolved, and that associate's got 15 cases sitting around. Well, that associate's pulling a wage and not moving cases. And I don't mean they have to finish the case, right? The goal isn't to just be done with the case. The goal is to get a good result for your client. So the idea isn't that the associate should be finishing cases. The idea is that the associate should be advancing cases, right? You want the case to move forward, and you want it to be built out in a way that reduces risk and adds value. That's the attorney's job, right? And that's in turn what the managing partnership of a firm expects of an associate who's working in the trenches on a case. And I don't think most firms have associates work cases by themselves. So this is, in our firm, any given case has got 2 partners and an associate and a non-attorney all collaborating on the case. So, in our firm, you would need a collusion between a partner and an associate to not move cases. It doesn't really happen, right? But in other firms, it might just be an associate by themselves, or might be a partner by themselves working a case. I don't know. And listen, stuff happens in their life. Maybe the case doesn't move, and then cases start to pile up. So now you've got problems, because as cases pile up, 1, new cases are coming in. Where do you put them? You can't put them on this associate because this associate's got a full caseload. 2, as cases pile up, well, each of those cases you might have 40,000 plus invested in. Your war chest is in the streets, right? It's been utilized. You're not getting it back until you move these cases. So you might have to start saying, actually, we can't take more cases because we don't have the money to do right by those cases right now. Not every firm does that. Some firms just say, hey, client, you pay the expenses yourself. We're not going to do it for you. I think it's a bad solution. I don't love that solution. I don't think it's unethical or anything. I just think it might not fully take into account that the average client maybe can't afford to just eat out 40 grand into her or his case, right? So you got the money piled up. You've got staffing issues because now you got nobody to assign these cases to. So what are you going to go hire somebody else? Maybe. But then you do an audit and be like, hey, why aren't these cases moving? Also, your clients are not happy, right? Clients are like, hey, these cases, my case is 2.5 years old, hypothetically. Why is it so old? Can that happen and have it not be the firm's fault? Yeah, of course. Courts can be slow. The EEOC can, put the brakes on, hold a right to sue letter for years sometimes. That can happen, but statistically speaking, it's rare. And generally speaking, if a case is taking a long time, it's often the fault of the attorneys, right? And you can figure that out, right? You look at the docket, you see why is my attorney seeking 15 extensions? And why does my attorney keep adjourning conferences? And why won't my attorney certify that we're trial ready? Things like that. You can look at the docket and kind of get a feel for maybe your attorney is dragging her or his feet. Now, these are all reasons why attorneys don't want cases to sit around. They want cases to move, right? And I think some of them are a little Machiavellian, right? It's better for the firm, it's better for the attorney, but also some of them are just decency issues. You want happy clients, right? Hopefully you didn't get in this business to sit on cases and pull a salary and not help people. So hopefully you want people to feel like they're being helped, and you're cognizant of the fact that people need these cases to move because often their livelihood is imperiled by the events that relate to this case. And that's how they put a roof over their head and feed their kids and advance their life and, work towards retirement. All the things, all good things in our life often come from our employment. So there's a variety of reasons, both moral and decency based and just self-interest based, why attorneys should and generally do want cases to move. Now, let's depart from what ought to be and get into what really happens with some attorneys. I'm going to use a couple of examples from my own life, and I'm going to give them code names. So they can't be identified. We call this gentleman Gordo. And what Gordo liked to do, I knew because I was working in the same office suite with Gordo. Gordo's not Gordo's name, obviously. Gordo would like to get big, fat retainers from people up front on their cases and then not really work their cases. If you ask Gordo, how his cases were going, he would often tell you, I'm busy with the kids. Okay, but you took money from people. You owe them a duty of loyalty. You charge them a lot of money. You charge them a lot more than, maybe a good firm would charge them, Gordo. So, maybe, take a bath, put a suit on, come to work, and work the case. And Gordo was not a single father, right? Gordo, had a family, a spouse. He had, he was not the primary caregiver for his children. So it was always very strange when Gordo would be the kids. And I think honestly, Gordo had like, I don't know for a fact, um, but I wouldn't, if you were like, oh yeah, Gordo had 120 cases solo. Uh, like all federal litigations, which is insane. You would not have 120 litigations solo, right? Like, generally speaking, my firm would not have 120 federal litigations for a team of 3 attorneys, 2 partners and an associate. No chance, no way. Not even close to that, right? That would impair their ability to work the cases properly. So then what Gordo's doing is just playing this adjourn, adjourn, adjourn. I need more time on that discovery demands. I need more time to comply with your discovery demands. Oh boy, Jimmy, we're buddies. Buddies, give me some more time. And he would get extensions from all these, because Gordo was an affable guy, likable guy, big with the sports, talk the sports nonstop, right? And people liked him. You know, he went to the right schools. He talked the right talk. He was, people were fans. Not so much the clients. Early on, the clients were. That's why they gave him the big fat retainers. But, 6 months later, when maybe nothing got filed, people started getting mad at Gordo, right? And it was like, I was like on this floor of office space that Gordo worked in, not really affiliated with Gordo, obviously. And like, I would like leave work at night, and I was leaving work 7:30, 8:30 at night, right? And like, people would accost me on the street and be like, hey, you work with Gordo? I'm like, what? No, I have no affiliation with Gordo. And yeah, they would ream me out. Like, I can't get him to call me back. Rah! You're like, okay, still, me, you and I never spoke. I don't work with Gordo. He rents space in a building on a floor where I also rent space for my firm, but like no affiliation with Gordo. And it didn't, like, there would be like actively aggressive altercations. I can't imagine what Gordo went through when he left the office, because I had nothing to do with Gordo, and people were screaming at me, and it got pretty aggressive. Like at one point, like this lady was on the street like screaming at me, and I'm like, listen, lady, let me give you the fee dispute committee's number. You feel he took your money, you should file a fee dispute. Also, maybe next time, don't hire the attorney who can't put a shirt on that like doesn't have soup stains all over it, right? Like, part of this industry is looking the part. Part of it's performative, and like there are certain signs that maybe the gentleman you're working with, not so magical, not so great, not so efficient. An inability to engage in basic human maintenance, the basics, is not generally a sign that someone is super high functioning when it comes to the rest of their life, right? She did not care for my perspective on that, which may surprise you, which may surprise no one. And I was like, and then I would like go to work the next day, and Gordo would be like, did you give some mother effer the fee dispute number so they could fee dispute me? And I'd be like, yeah, I did. It was like, why would you do that to me? I'm like, because I presume you're innocent, but she said you did a lot of bad things. And if you didn't do them, you can definitely prove that in fee dispute. But like, sounds from what she was telling me, like she gave you lots of money and you just sat in her case and did nothing. And maybe that's why you got a bunch of bad reviews, Gordo, right? And he's sitting there and he's like, you can watch him. He's like, what? This guy, he wanted to knock me out, right? Couldn't stand me. But I mean, what, I'm gonna sit there and get screamed at for the crimes of somebody I have nothing to do with? No. And also, why would I let him get away with this stuff? It's bad for the industry. It's bad for clients. We're supposed to be helping people, right? He's scummy. He's still out there. He's still working, making money. Maybe he's getting by. And of course, the Bar Association never goes after those guys, right? So It is what it is. So that's one reason, like one way that attorneys drag cases out. And that's like the solo practitioner just taking money. The other way, and I kind of alluded to this earlier in the video, this is a very long video. Maybe I've gone way too long. Oh my God, 15 minutes. Another way that cases get extended, let's say, dragged out, you'll get associates, right? And you can get very intelligent associates out of law school, the best grades, real employment law pedigree, journal experience. They did everything, clinics, all the right stuff on the resume. Great communication skills, great research and writing skills. Maybe they never had a job before. Not once in their life, right? Like I've met those associates who were like super excited, and they come in for their first day of work, and you know, our first years, they're making six figures, generally speaking. So, you know, it's a pretty great job for your first job out of law school, in my opinion. And they'll walk into this job and they don't know how to work. They might know how to study. They might know how to beat a test or write a paper, but they don't know how to work. Like day in and day out. Like they come to work. I remember, nice guy. But I remember one day, we had to staff up for some major projects at the firm, and we were bursting at the seams with associates. We had like half a floor in Manhattan at that point, and there still wasn't enough offices to stick people in. So I ended up with a first year associate crammed in my office with me. I had a fairly large office. Maybe it was, I don't know, 400 square feet maybe. Beautiful office, beautiful building. And this kid, we just rolled an extra desk in because we had to staff up for this project and we wanted more attorneys. See, like young attorney stuff, like discovery, like initial passes at discovery, initial passes at research, and then you roll in the more experienced associates, senior associates, and partners to kind of like make sure everything's going well and teach the young associates, right? So this kid is in my office working, and I'm working. And I look over, and all across his desk, this kid's a genius. I shit you not. This kid literally is 3.5 times more intelligent than I am. Like, talented youth musician, great undergraduate, great law school, the whole 9 yards. He's got a grid laid out on his desk. This is like his second week on the job. He's got like 5 assignments that he should be working on. Huge grid laid out on his desk of color coordinated, I think it was like Skittles or Reese's Pieces or something. So he's got this grid of Skittles, and he's going through, I think he's turning them all over. He's arranged them by color in this big grid on his desk over his work. And he was turning them over, so I think that the little logo was up on all of them. And in our industry, there's a lot of stress at times. So me thinking, seeing that he's doing this in front of me, and I was a partner in the firm at that point, so that was weird because certainly I would have input in whether or not he would be hired or fired or promoted or anything else, or what assignments he would get, right? I assumed this had to be like a mental break, like something had gone horribly wrong. Maybe there was a little bit of anxiety that maybe a client had gone after him. Maybe a partner had done something to him. Like I was like, so I kind of like broached it up and be like, hey buddy, how we doing? Good. Okay. How's your day going? Oh, I love it. I love working here. You don't have to lie to me, man. It's cool. What's going on? Nothing, John. Just thinking about where I'm going to get lunch. What's going on with the Skittles? I'm a little OCD, So for me, this is very calming. Okay, something going on? Is it like you need to be calm? Like, what's going on? He's like, no, this is very pleasant for me. Okay. Um, how's your morning going? Like, what are you working on? Oh, I got this and that I gotta do, and so wants to see something by Thursday, so I figure I'll get to that tomorrow. I only have like 5 things to do. I think he said something like that. It's like I only got 5 things to do. Um, and I was like, okay. When'd you get your assignments? Oh, last week. First week I was here. Did you finish anything last week? No, but I only got 5 assignments, so it's cool. Do you understand that these 5 assignments are like auditions for you to like we're trying to figure out if you're like competent, like that you can help people with their cases? Oh yeah, I'm gonna do a good job. Okay. Do you understand that when you like finish your assignment, you're gonna get more assignments, and part of how you make money is by the cases you get to work on, and as you do better at helping to advance cases, you'll get attached to more and more valuable cases so you can help more people and earn more money. So like if your goal is to help people, you get to help more people with bigger cases. And if your goal is just to make yourself wealthy, you get to make more money. Do you understand that? Yeah, but I'm doing okay. My base is pretty good. And I remember just kind of being like, have you thought about like tax law? Like, have you thought about an industry where you're just kind of like stamping a time clock? Like, this is an industry where the firm spends incredible amounts of money. Not as much money. I talked to an attorney last week who was telling me he fronts like 3.5 million on his cases, different field. It blew my mind. Blew my mind. Certainly, I could never do that. But we're in an industry where you invest a huge amount of money in these cases. So like, they got to move. Also, our clients need to survive. They've been through a lot, and they need a result. They need the anxiety and the stress of this case to end at some point, and they also need a resolution so they can move on with their lives. So like, again, there is a moral reason to move the cases and a self-interest. They're both there. Both your self-interest and your morals tell you to do your effing job, kid. And perhaps I got a little grumpy at this point. I don't know. But he ended up getting up and leaving and like going to tell people that I was being mean to him. And they came in and they were like, Vince, are you being mean to so-and-so? I was like, yeah. Yo, so much. Yes. And I showed them the grid of Skittles, and I submitted pictures I had taken of the grid of Skittles. And, what if he had been in his own office? What if he had closed the door and no one knew he wasn't doing any work? He could have delayed his clients' cases. I mean, it wouldn't have gotten beyond 3 weeks. He would have just been like, oh, I'm almost done with that. I'm almost done with that. I'm almost done with that. And the partners would have been like, what? Why would you be almost done? It's been 2 weeks. Like, give it to me now. I want it now. So that stuff like that happens. Also, honestly, I've watched a lot of people get eaten alive by this industry over the years. So you'll get these weird situations where, great attorney, really just knocking it out of the right, and then something happens, and it's a high stress environment. It is a high stress job, and something happens in their personal life or something happens in their professional life, and they just like turn off, or they start drinking, or who knows, they start listen. How many employment attorneys do I know who became cocaine cowboys? Just nonstop, right? Like, and like making fun of me. Like, bro, you want some coke? No, I'm all right. don't be such a wuss. That's not what they say, but I don't want to say what they say. And it's just like, yeah, buddy, I'm good. I'm good. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Also, I don't want Coke on Saturday, but again, you're going pretty effing hard for a Tuesday. You got people to help tomorrow. Like, what's going on? And it's not even just that. Like, people will go out. I can think of a guy, real gourmand, right? Loves fine food. Perhaps, eats and drinks his stress. Blood pressure through the roof. Sick all the time. I think sometimes that impairs his ability to move his caseload, right? If he can't get out of the hospital on a given day, how's he going to work a case, So listen, logically, there's no reason in this field why an attorney would not want to move a case, barring like special circumstances. I can imagine like you're waiting to like strike right before an IPO, or like you're plotting, waiting for a company to like restructure their like bankruptcy, their debt, and then you're gonna file your case like right after, so they can't get away from you. Like stuff like there's potential reasons that are legitimate. They're very rare. They're very rare. And generally, if you think your attorneys are dragging their feet on purpose and they can't show you, like, I've got a case on the books right now where the EEOC has been dragging their feet for years. And our client knows it's not us because we keep call logs and provide copies of all the letters of our efforts to get the right to sue letter on a given case, right? It's like, okay, so here's your monthly update. We called the EEOC 4 times this month, and we sent them 2 letters. Here are copies of both letters. Here's the call log. You'll note that we, last month called 8 times. We only called 4 times this month because we're afraid that we're making them angry, and we think they might be getting spiteful. But, like, we have a 2-year log of our efforts to get that right to sue letter, right? And we do that not because we necessarily think it's going to make the EEOC give us the right to sue letter faster. In fact, it may not. It may make them spiteful and make them resist giving me the right to sue letter because they don't like being chased around and made to do their jobs. Sometimes, certain people. But in part, we need the client to know we are doing everything we possibly can to move this case because it protects the trust between the attorney and the client, right? If you hire an attorney and you think the attorney's sitting on your case and not moving your case, well, then instantly you're going to think that attorney doesn't have my best interests at heart. And if that attorney doesn't have my best interest at heart, when it comes time to make decisions, I'm not going to value that attorney's advice, right? If the decision is, do I settle this case for this much or do I go to trial? And the attorney says, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. You're going to look at that attorney and be like, who the F asked you? You scumbag, right? Because you don't trust that person anymore. Because, you don't believe they're moving your case. You don't believe they put you first, right? So, this is a very long answer. This is a 30-minute answer. So I hope this has some value for you, the one and only Prince. The tall and short of it is attorneys should very much want to move your case, and they should never want to drag out cases. And often if they are dragging out cases, it can be a sign of problems. Often it's not the attorney's fault. Often, right? Like agencies, courts, opposing counsel. There's a lot of things that can slow a case down. Don't get me wrong, right? Don't get it twisted. It's not like I can snap my fingers and have a case at trial tomorrow. No. But if I'm the one slowing a case down, if your plaintiff's attorney is the one slowing a case down, you've got issues. You need to know why. You need to know soon, because it could be the sign. It could be the tip of the iceberg. It could be a much bigger problem beneath the water that you don't know about yet. I hope this is helpful. Sorry it was so long. Good luck. Oh, like and subscribe.